This is traffic news from Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM, and NevadaBike.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. There is a free bike ride starting at Believe Plaza around sunset on Wednesday. Say hi to John, the organizer. Starts around sunset at Believe Plaza. Remember, bring bike lights. The Southern Nevada Bicycle Coalition is starting their campaign for Respect on the Roadway. A mural is going to be unveiled in downtown Las Vegas in the Arts District. Also, down in Las Vegas, the Bike Coalition is working with the city of Henderson on a micro-mobility campaign. They're educating students and families about bikes and scooter safety. A smart cycling class is starting down there too. For more information, go to snvbc.org. That's it for traffic news from NevadaBike.org. Bike Life Radio airs every Sunday at 5:30. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. Now, we have part 2 of our conversation with Jeff Siebert, the founder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley. It was one of the first flow trails in the nation back in the 90s. It gave rise to an Olympian and pride in Sun Valley. We're talking to Jim Siebert. He is the founder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio. One of the things that, if you build a jump when you're a kid and it's with a brick and a board or whatever, and, it's kind of like yours, right? Or maybe if you build a ski jump and then everybody can use it. And you do want other people to use it. Were you ever surprised? You built a big jump and then you went out there and you found other people using it. Were you ever surprised to see how many people were using it?
No. It wasn't an expectation, but I expected it to happen.
Did other people start to build?
They would. And the unwritten rule, and this is in like the dirt jump and the trails community, like the underground community is like, you don't show up to somebody else's place and build.
Oh.
You ask.
Yeah.
And when you show up with a broom or a shovel. Like if you want to build something, and then there is other unwritten rules, like you don't get to shape the jump itself until you've worn out 3 or 4 shovels. Oh. And it's kind of a rite of passage or whatever it might be. Does that happen anymore? Oh. No. The people are going out there and I think there's enough of a base now of information from that place and from other places all over that you can look at what's going on and then go. Some kid could go out, and if they use their common sense, they'll be like, well, I saw it built like this, I'm going to build it like this. I mean, I learned the tricks of the trade out there.
So there was like a whole code and everything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really exist anymore.
No, it kind of does. Out there it does. Like, I know Angelo Garcia, he was out there on the new build, and then Washoe County Parks works with him right now. He's kind of, he's the kid that's kind of maintaining it. Uh-huh. And it's good. It needs someone like that. I left for school. I ended up going to the University of Idaho. And then when I graduated from school, I had moved back to Nashville, Tennessee for about a year. And so I haven't been around in the neighborhood, Mm-hmm. And Angelo and some of the BMX kids from out there in Sun Valley, they really kept on it, And then when Washoe County Parks, they found some money, they found a grant. And so I had found out about the grant, and I called them like, hey, we have some agreements that we've made on paper, and it's about time that you produce and you put money back into the park. And they did. And so, what you see now is there's an area kind of to the very north that is all new jumps and stuff. And they went out and built some other lines and stuff like that. So kind of holding the guard and like saying like, well, you can't build out here anymore stuff. You don't want to, because everything's built well. And if you wanted something new, all you have to do is say something to somebody who knows. And then, like Angelo, he'll set up weekends. I think on Sundays right now, he's out there. And you can go out there and help. And it might be a mundane task like sweeping, but even sweeping something like that has an art to it. there's an art to everything that happens with that place and with the jumps, and not just there, Sierra Vista and all the other places. So, it's important that, like, if people are going out to build, that they ask for one and have a plan. Kind of, if you want to build a new trail, then you should probably have a plan before you go out and just build the trail, because there's a whole element of design that goes into it. Yeah.
We're talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley. You're listening to KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio. One of the things that came to mind is that, you build a bike park in a particular spot, and it's kind of outside of the city in a way, or it's kind of at the outskirts, and kids got to get there. So let's talk a little bit about the infrastructure to get to the biggest little bike park. What's that like? Are kids riding their bikes from Sun Valley to the biggest little bike park, and is it safe?
So there's a major road. Sun Valley Boulevard is right. It's like a half a mile away, where it turns to 2 lanes and all that. So by automobile, it's easy to get there. There's parking. Parking's really safe. Like, there's the RTC, the bus is right down, it turns on 9th Street, I believe. And so, they have bike racks on the buses, and you could have a bike there. But most of the traffic that I used to see was the kids riding their bikes there. And how they were getting there, it's, I don't know how, but they're getting there. Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? Like, kids are going to, if they know there's a place that they can go, kind of escape, have fun, ride their bicycles, they're going to find a way to get there. And so, as far as there's always been dirt roads out there, and the dirt roads lead right to the park. You couldn't miss it if you just walked up the hill from the bottom. And now with the new dirt road that they put a service road in from the parking lot in the park itself, so you just walk back on that and you're right there. Huh. So it's always been accessible, Yeah.
So the fact that they're there, shows that they got there somehow, and we're not really sure exactly how they got there. But I think what I'm getting at a little bit is, do you feel the infrastructure on the way there is safe enough, or could it be improved?
I always think there's improvement for sure, but for the most part, if you're driving, it's a road, and you're not crossing major traffic, so. If kids are riding their bikes, they'll be riding probably up Sun Valley Boulevard, or around there. And once they get out past the houses and they start to get into the desert where the jumps are at, they're fine. It's just a matter of riding your bike through the dirt then, or walking up the hill if you're lazy like me. Yeah.
We're talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder and the original builder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley. You're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. One of the questions that I have is, do you think that the bike park has changed Sun Valley at all?
That's a funny question that you ask, because I feel that it's brought commerce into the valley. So
really, like business.
Yeah, because what's happening is, and the numbers may not be huge, but they're there. It brings people out to Sun Valley. There's convenience stores down the road. You forget your Gatorade or whatever, you go down there and you buy it, right? Mm-hmm. There's taco stands. They have, in the middle of Sun Valley, there on Sun Valley Boulevard, they have taco trucks all the time. And I've stopped at the taco trucks, and everybody else does. It's kind of a thing. So I think it brings business out there. The gentleman who owns the tire shop out there, Justin Eichley, he has, and I've sent people, I'm like, oh, you got a flat tire on your car? Go down and adjust it, Really? And he's told me, he's like, man, these guys were coming out, they had a flat tire, they need a new tire, they stopped here, they had their bikes. I'm like, where are you going? Oh, we're going to go up to Jim's, Jim's Jumps at one time, or whatever it was. And so it's not this huge significant thing, but it does bring people out into that area. I think it's changed the way the kids grow up out there, because they know it's out there and they know it's free, it's available to them, so they can go and once they go out there, they start to create those relationships and those friendships, and they, you know, it fosters the next step. Like maybe they're, you know, maybe they want to be an Olympic champion, and so they're going to find a way to do that with that spot, you know, and in Sun Valley, and then it brings it up. It brings up the community and everything else. And, you know, Paris Benegas, she's Olympic silver medalist in women's BMX freestyle. So Paris grew up with me and with my son, literally. Like, she lived at my house for a while.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, wow. And I taught her how to jump out there, you know, and so her brother would come out, you know, the crew, the kids were out there riding, and they were riding, and, hey, Jim, we want to build this. Okay, let's build it. And we would build these crazy features sometimes that, you know, before it was the Washoe County Park, that were sketchy, but they were learning how to do construction, you know, mathematics, and then they're riding their bikes and having fun on it. And so, like, that place fostered her. It made her the rider that she is now, where she won the Nora Cup, the #1 rider award for BMX, you know, one year, and she's constantly in the magazines, and she's constantly on videos, and she was in Tokyo for the Olympics, and she got silver in Paris. And so, you know, like, it's one of the cases where it's like it's enhanced somebody's life, it's made them better. And I think it does it, maybe not at that magnitude, but it's doing it for other people out there in that area, Sun Valley.
Yeah, a really unlikely story. Jim Siebert, who is the founder and the original builder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley, gave birth to an Olympian as a result of building this bike park, which you must be really proud of. I mean, she probably wouldn't be an Olympian if it weren't for you having built that bike park.
Well, it's a village. Like, it takes a village to raise one, you know. And did I have a part in it? Yeah. Am I on the edge of my seat when she's taking her runs in the Olympics? Absolutely, you know. And am I tearing up and crying because I'm so happy that she got silver? Absolutely, you know. In Tokyo, she had a bad run. She went in with a torn rotator, so she wasn't able to move her arm above her head, and she still ended up fourth. And then with this last Olympics, you know, she went and threw down, you know, and silver medal is no joke, and she was just off the gold medal, and something to be proud of. And it's not just my pride, you know, my son grew up with her, and so they're like close friends. And I'm close friends with her, you know. It's fun to foster a friendship with somebody who I used to tell, hey, you know, put that away before you go and do what you're doing. You know, if she was at my house playing video games with the kid or whatever, and so to see her mature and become this kind of, she's probably the most noticeable female BMX freestyle person in the world, you know, and that makes me proud for sure. You know, I like to see her success, and again, it goes back to, like, not all of them are Olympians, you know. A kid, David, who grew up, he had a really bad life. Like, parents were abusive, they were into drugs, you know. And then to see him go to law school and become a lawyer, and him to reach out to me like, hey man, do you remember me, you know? And Facebook, I'm like, yeah, I think so. And he sent me a picture of me and him standing out there, you know, and he's all, I helped you with the concrete jump and blah, blah, blah. And you showed me how to jump. He goes, I just finished law school, you know? Yeah. And I was like, whoa, you know? And I'm like, where'd you go to law school? Stanford. And I'm like, holy cow. Like,
wow. Yeah.
And then, you know, kind of that heart tug, you know, those heartstrings moment where he's like, if it wasn't for that place, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I was like, wow, you know, that's an impact. That's something that I can carry on into my old age, and it's reoccurring. It's going to happen again and again and again. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty encouraging, and it makes me feel good that I know that it's had an impact on humans like that.
Really inspiring.
Yeah.
For every Olympian, there's 1,000 other kids whose lives the Biggest Little Bike Park may have touched. We're talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder and the original builder of the Biggest Little Bike Park in Sun Valley. Is there a favorite? I mean, you just told a bunch of stories. Is there a favorite story that you haven't told about the Biggest Little Bike Park that you want to share?
One of the funny things was, and it was like 2006 maybe. So I'd been out there for 5 or 6 years, and it's interesting to see what people can accomplish in 5 or 6 years with a shovel and a pick, right? So I had started to develop ways of like packing down dirt and making sure it's packed in and all that. And I would herringbone, my feet, and I would walk down herringbone. And one day I went out, and I'm out there digging and, getting ready to ride. And these guys pull up literally in this black SUV, and they're like, is your name Jim? I'm like, yeah, I'm Jim. He goes, we're with, we're federal agents, and we're coming out here to let you know that we're going to have to arrest you because you've been using equipment, machinery out here to build these jumps. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna take, and then
we're gonna arrest you.
Yeah, so they arrest me. I don't go to
they
jail.
They actually arrest you?
Yeah, so I go with them.
These federal agents.
Yeah, wow. I go with them. We go down to this place down here in Reno. And
some secret location, like a CIA jail.
Yeah.
For building the Biggest Little Bike Park.
Yeah, and here I'm all dirty, like from riding, digging, and
these guys are wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, kind of Men in Black, right? And I'm like, damn, I was like, I've never used machinery out there, man. And they're like, hey, and they're showing me pictures of the herringbone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, those are Vans shoe prints, and they're like, no, we think that you're using machinery. It's illegal to use machinery on public lands, I said, is it illegal if I'm digging by hand? And they're all, no, but the machinery thing. And I'm like, well, I haven't used machinery. And so we go through the whole process. They don't put me in jail, but they get all my information. They fingerprint me. They do all this stuff. And then I get a court date, and they're like, we highly suggest you get a lawyer. You're looking between, 18 months and 5 years in federal prison.
Wow.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding me for building a jump, for riding my bike.
Yeah.
So most smart people, it would deter them from going back out there. And I was like, well, if I'm going to go to jail, I'm going to go ride my bike, and I'm going to keep building. And in fact, at that point in time, I'm like, I'm going to go find some machinery and build something,
I might as well have been using machinery if I'm going to be arrested for having used machinery.
Right. Yeah. And so I went to the neighbors, the people that live right down below there. And a couple of them I know. I went to school with one of the ladies that owns a house right there. And her name's Shannon. I'm like, hey, Shannon, can you do me a favor? Can you write a statement that says I've never used machinery out there? And her sons were going out there and riding bikes with me, and they would come out and help me dig. And I tell her the story. She's like, what? Absolutely, So
you must have been terrified.
I was like, I'm laughing about it.
Now.
Well, then I'm like, but I'm also like, what kind of food, do they serve in federal prison? Where am I going? I can't be going with the, with the Unabomber. I'm not going to Florence, ATX. Where am I going to go, And, but then I'm also giggling because I'm like, this is hilarious. And so I think I got 12 of the neighbors to sign, to do written statements. Yeah. And then I take them and have them stamped, notarized, so that these are official things. And I'm producing this stuff.
In your court date.
Yeah, I went. So there was a ritual. If I broke a shovel, I would bury it.
Oh.
Thank you, soldier. And so I went and dug up all these
your old
shovels and picks and whatever, rakes and everything, and like compile all this stuff. And I have to go get a lawyer, and this lawyer's like, this is ridiculous, So we go into court, and all this evidence, you know, and all these statements, and the judge, I think it was Springmeyer or someone like that was the judge, and
federal judge.
Yeah. And then here's the BLM, the guy from the BLM, like the ranger, and he's like, yeah, we've seen him with equipment out there before. What? And I'm like, you've never seen me with equipment. Yeah. Like, the only equipment is here, you know, and we're like producing evidence. Here's a broken shovel. Here's this. And then the statements. Yeah. And the statements were like, well, he goes out there and we'll hear him, you know, yelling and screaming like, yeah, you know, or something. And we'll hear the other kids. We see the other kids going out there, but we've never seen any excavator or like front end loader or anything like that.
So the ranger basically lied.
Yeah. And who knows what that motive was, you know, but for what it's worth, I was sitting there and the judge was like, stop right there. This is frivolous. Yeah. Nothing happened. The guy is out there. He chooses to do this. This is his lifestyle is, whatever. He's not harming anybody. He's not doing anything. And he said, even if he did use machinery, who cares? Like, you guys you're splitting hairs right now. Like, it might have been, you know, they were trying to get money or something like that. Wow. And I basically walked out of court like, oh, you know, holy cow. Like, I escaped that. Like, I was... you know, and at one point in time, that's a stress that you don't want on you. Like, I don't want to go to prison for. No. What do I tell them? You know, we're eating lunch in prison. I'm like, yeah, I got busted for building dirt jumps, you know, for my bicycle. And they look at me and they're like, who's this guy? You know, like.
They'd probably ask you to build one in the yard.
Maybe. You know, we can go find the bike and go, you know, ride it or whatever. But that's probably one of the most interesting things that had ever happened out there, you know. Wow. I've told people, like, I could write a book about this place. Yeah. And literally I could. You know, I don't know if people remember, you know, it's a little bit older, but there was a young lady named Brianna Dennison. Mm-hmm. Yep. And she was kidnapped, and then ultimately they found her, she had been murdered, you know. And they caught the guy over the course of time. So when they were doing the initial investigation, they're looking for this young lady. I go out one day, and it was before there was any gates or anything, so I just drive right up, you know, and I pull up, and there's probably like 6 or 7 Sheriff Hasty team, you know, and so I get out, and I'm like, have my bike, I'm like, oh, what's going on? I go up. One of the deputies, you know, he comes over, he's all, hey, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I ride my bike here. I built this stuff, you know, what's going on? Did you know, something going on? And he's like, we're just looking, we're trying to find anything right now to find this young lady. So they had these sonar machines or something, and they're like rolling it up the jumps, the mounds. Huh. I don't blame them, you know, like, and then there, you know, questions, hey, has anything changed, or, you know, all that and this and that. And there was some junk out there, and like I had buried a refrigerator. Yeah. And they're like, oh, what's this? I'm like, it's a refrigerator, you know, and it's an old one. So it's probably lead lined, old refrigerators. And so they couldn't see through that. So they're like, a couple of their guys come over, and they're like, hey, we're going to take this out. And I'm like, all right, that's a bummer, you know, and they take it out.
You put the refrigerator as like the base of the jump.
Yeah, I filled it in. Yeah. And so they dug out this refrigerator, and I'm like, oh man, you guys are destroying my jump right now, you know.
Looking for Brianna Dennison.
Yeah, they're looking for this young lady, and it's like, man, like, I'm thinking, like, has anything changed? Have I seen anything, you know, different or anything? I'm like, I haven't seen anything, and I was going out there. At least, you know, in a 7-day week, I would be out there 4 to 5 times a week. Yeah. So I had a really good feel for what was going on and everything all the time.
Things were changing? Or?
Yeah. And so obviously they didn't find her there, you know. But it was a situation where I was like, I was talking to him like, am I going to get in trouble if she was to be found? And they're like, is there a reason for you to be in trouble? I'm like, no, dude. Like, I've been watching this on the news, but it's not something that, you know, I'm not that kind of a dude like that. And so they didn't find anything, and they're really cool. They're like, hey, if you want, we can have they have the inmate crew. Yeah. We could have them come up and help you fix that. And I'm like, no, don't worry about that. You know, like, let's just call it good. We didn't find Brianna. I'm happy for that. You know, I hope we find her. And ultimately, like I said, they did, but it's just another one of those situations where it was like, wow, like,
Yeah.
how do you know about this place for one? And then also, I can understand there's mounds of dirt everywhere. Like, what's buried in the dirt, And so, there's a lot of those kind of stories where these things have happened, and it's been fun. Always fun. Always interesting.
Been talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder of the biggest little bike park that was built in the 90s up in Sun Valley. And thank you for being on Bike Life Radio.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM from the Nevada Bicycle Coalition. We're on every Sunday at 5:30. We'll see you next week. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. This is traffic news from Bike Life Radio on KWNK 97.7 FM and NevadaBike.org. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. The roads are open and you can drive on them. Be careful of bike riders and pedestrians. 2 drivers were hurt this week at I-80 and the West McCarran exit. The accident closed that busy ramp. Former Reno Mayor Jeff Griffin passed away in February. From 1995 to 2002, he played a big role in transforming transportation in Reno. He helped start the project to reroute the railroad underground through downtown and keep traffic moving. He also started Art Town. One of his most iconic photos was riding a bike along the Truckee River path with his wife. Channel 2 gave some tips on how to avoid e-bike fires. Don't let them overcharge. That's one of the tips. There's a free bike ride starting in downtown Reno on Wednesday. Meet up at Believe Plaza around sunset. Bring bike lights for a lit time. It's the Olympics, and this week on Bike Life Radio, we learn how Reno native Paris Bengus got her start in BMX freestyle right here in Reno. She won the 2024 silver. You can catch Bike Life Radio every Sunday here at 5:30 on KWNK 97.7 FM. I'm Kai Plascon. Right on. That's it for traffic news. Oh, there's music in the background.
Yeah, I have my...
Oh, you can leave it. That's fine. It's all right.
Well, I got to turn it off.
Oh, you got to turn it off? All right. You're listening to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM from the Nevada Bicycle Coalition, NevadaBike.org. We just got our website fixed up, and now we're going to start making some edits to it. We're looking for board members if you're interested in joining. Go to NevadaBike.org, and you can find our contact information. And I'm Kai Plascon, right on. And we're talking to Jim Siebert. Jim Siebert, you are an architect, but you're also a bike park builder. Is that right?
I was a bike park builder before I was ever an architect, and I was actually a dirt jump builder for BMX, and back starting in probably the early 90s, maybe late 80s, we were building jumps and stuff. I think, in the 80s we built behind Costco. There's a little piece of land, and some friends were living in the apartment back there, and so we were building in the playground of the apartment. The manager told us to go over there and build over there. You guys can build over there. We went over there to start building, and found out that it was NDOT or someone, and they came over. What are you doing? We're like, well, the manager said we could build here, and then they're like, well, this is our property, but it's not used for anything, so do what you want. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's been since about 86, 87 probably is when we started digging dirt jumps around Reno, Nevada. So, yeah.
1986, 97, and NDOT and this building manager were pretty cool. Like, I think that if you were to build something on public property now, and NDOT were to see it, they might bulldoze it or something, right? Or what do you think would happen?
Well, it's the feelings, it's shifted, right? There's bike parks popping up all over the country, and it's become a profession, and there's professional bike park building companies. There's all these things that are happening with it. So to just show up and start building on property that you don't know whose it is, the way that we used to do it, the rogue way, you don't see it so much anymore. You're seeing a lot of people make a push with municipalities to go out and find a piece of property in a park or something, and then in case in point is Sierra Vista, they knew that property was there, and City of Reno, Washoe County, they kind of got connected together and had some money and then had it built. So it's a little bit easier now to get these things done. And then, when you're doing it legal like that, it doesn't get tore down. Yeah.
And the reason why we're talking to you about building dirt jumps and is because you've done some recently, right? Or you worked on North Valley's Park, right?
Well, I'm the founder of what is the biggest little bike park. So in 1999, late 99, I wanted a place to go ride. We had dirt jumps and stuff around town, and they all got pretty much plowed, or people moved into the property and are like, why are there jumps on our property, and so things are they're always getting plowed and all that. And so I knew of a spot out there in Sun Valley, and I went out there, met with a couple of friends. We kind of made a mountain bike line at first. I was racing mountain bikes at the time, downhill mountain bike and all that. And
well, you said you knew of a place out there. What does that mean? You just kind of some random dirt, kind of like when you were a kid, or what do you mean?
So it was the terrain. And just that area in Sun Valley, I'd ridden motorcycles. So I grew up out in that area, so I knew that place like the back of my hand, and so I knew the dirt was good there. We had a little like a berm track for moto there, had originally a long time ago, and then it just was like, well, this place is kind of secluded. It's got a pretty view. The wind's at the back, the sun's at your back, and so I went out there with a shovel and just kind of scratched in a mountain bike line at first, and we would go out there and just do mountain bike runs and stuff. And then from there it was like, oh, we should maybe I'll build something else, So a jump got built, and then another jump got built, and then all of a sudden it starts to transpire into a line. And it's I've been told by other people that are big in the industry is that it might have been one of the first times that a flow trail was actually built.
Huh. Wow. And so that was in the 90s.
Yeah, it was like 99, 2000,
wow.
Right at the beginning
of
2000.
There a long time.
Yeah, it's 26, 27 years old. It'll be 27 years old in November.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And so where is it? Where is the biggest little bike park?
So it's in the Sun Valley Regional Park. It's on Side Hill. So you would drive up Sun Valley Boulevard, take a left on Quartz, and then you go up this side hill, turn right, and you'll go all the way up. There's an elementary school right there. You turn left and go up the hill, and there's the parking and all that. It's all Washoe County Parks runs it, or they carry it now, and so there's signage. There's a small little pump track right when you kind of get to the parking lot. That's there for the little ones, there's striders and all that stuff. And then you walk back on the road and it's back in there. You can't miss it. And on the weekends and stuff, if it's a nice weekend, you'll hear the crowd, you'll hear people hooting and hollering and everything about it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Hooting and hollering about it because people are jumping and they're like, woohoo. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of dirt jump culture, that kind of, that we call them trails. Like that's the old man in me. Go ride the trails. People are like, "Oh, you're riding a mountain bike?" No, well, I might be riding a dirt jump mountain bike, but I'm going to dirt jumps. Yeah, so it's pretty supportive out there. People show up and they know nobody, and when they leave, they'll know people because everybody's there. It's always like if they need help. Everybody kind of looks out for each other. If somebody's going to ride into something that they shouldn't be riding in, the riders will tell them, don't do that because you're going to get hurt. And the whole purpose of the place is to kind of have this more of a extreme extreme bicycle like dirt jump spot where Sierra Vista is very tame. It has some good features, but it's nothing like the biggest little bike park stuff where there's big jumps out there. There's jumps that, I've personally witnessed dudes do double backflips on. And, wow. My son, when he was growing up, I watched him grow up and learn 360s and backflips and tail whips and all the tricks and all that stuff out there. And so always kind of build something that's dangerous to be safe, so that the rider, if they want to perform the stunt or whatever, they don't have to worry about the jump. They have to practice their craft in the air with it. So just all kinds of like interesting things that happen with it. It basically, at the end of the day, building out there, it drove me into going to school to become an architect, And it's kind of funny how it kind of relates, but if you think about it, like there's a lot of design that has to go on. There's a lot of mathematics that go into the jumps. Kids will learn, right, with a brick and a piece of wood. They'll go out and then they're going to send it off of that brick and and that piece of wood, and then they want to go higher, so they're going to steepen it up and they're going to do these other things, and so. It's funny to relate it to, but like you're doing math while you're doing that. It's a really interesting process. So, it just kind of like transpired from there. It kind of grew up like that. When I first went out there, it was BLM land, and then
we're talking to Jim Siebert, who's the founder of the biggest little bike park in the North Valleys. Where is it again?
So it's in Sun Valley, at the very top. On Side Hill, at the very top of Side Hill Drive, yeah.
Very top of Side Hill Drive. And so you started in the 80s building jumps out behind Costco, and it was on NDOT land a little bit, and then you moved to this spot that you knew was kind of a cool place up in Sun Valley that you had ridden dirt bikes on. I always kind of wondered whether people went from dirt bikes back to bikes. I always thought, well, my daughter likes to ride a mountain bike and she wants a dirt bike. If she goes to a dirt bike, is she ever going to go back to mountain bikes? But it sounds like you went back to mountain bikes from riding dirt bikes, right?
Sort of. It was always intermingled. Basically, I started in BMX 1975. So I was a little kid in Ohio. I had a full face helmet that had a little hole in it. He stuffed a pillow in my helmet so it wouldn't bounce around, and took me to a motocross track in kind of near Columbus, Ohio, and we raced down the hill on a Schwinn, like a scrambler, from there I had raced motocross when I was a little kid too, because he had originally taken me to the motocross track on my little 50 that he had got me for Christmas. He's like, "You're going to go race," and I raced around, and we saw the flyer for BMX, and I was like, I want to try that, And so it's always been kind of intermingling. It's always, it went motocross, BMX bikes, mountain bike, and I don't let the grass grow under my feet. Like, I've raced road bikes, I've done trials, competitions. I was in the front of the dirt jump mountain bike movement. So like 1994, 93, wow. We were taking hardtail mountain bike frames and putting riser bars on them, and like literally finding old BMX stems and drilling them out, making them go on to the mountain bike, and then the bars and all that, and going out and jumping them. Like, there was a skate park, indoor skate park, the Roller's Edge, that was on Keystone years and years ago. And I remember taking my hardtail Barracuda that I had like made into this kind of slalom race bike, but it jumped well. And so I would take it to that skate park and ride it in the skate park. And people would freak out on that. They'd be like, what do you that's a mountain bike. It's like, yeah, but it's pretty fun, And then just kind of everything grew from there, as far as like that progression of those bikes and how they've happened, the whole downhill mountain bike scene. And the cool thing about Sun Valley and the dirt jumps and the biggest little bike park is it's kind of seen that history grow with it. Like, it's been a test ground for things, and not just bicycle, but it's been a test ground for like, does this jump work? If you're familiar with dirt jumps and stuff like that, they have shark fins, and it's kind of a berm that has a jump at the end of it. Instead of just going around the berm, you're jumping on the berm. And I remember building a shark fin out there in like 2002. So there's things like that.
How did you learn to build a shark fin or some of these jumps?
It was just creativity.
You were just being creative. You were like, if I go around this berm and then there's a jump at the end of it, that'd be super rad. It'd be a jump and a berm all at once.
It's happenstance. Like maybe I had built a berm and then I was coming out of it and I was like bunny hopping out of it. I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we put a landing there, And then it just kind of, it probably flowers and fosters from there. Like, how do we do these things and how do we come up with these ideas and all that? It's interesting, and to have a creative mind like that. Like if you're riding a bicycle to begin with, you have a creative mind. And I feel that like anybody can do anything at any point in time. You have to have the will and the drive to do it. And for one, riding bicycles are fun. At the end of the day, you're riding down the street, you pop a wheelie or you skid, whatever it is, and it's just fun. So it was kind of like what would be fun to build, and then it was progression. The jumps started and they were maybe like 1.5 foot tall rollers, and there might have been a set of doubles there, so 2 individual rollers that you could jump over, and they might have been like 2.5, 3 feet tall. And then from there, like they might have, we can go bigger with that, and so we would stack it up. Now we have to figure out what the transition is, what that radius is, and what the lip is, and how far we can jump, and who's going to guinea pig it, and we were guinea pigging it, like myself and some other friends, a gentleman, Kirsten Graham. He does bicycle tours now in the state of Nevada all over.
Burrito packing and he's bike packing.
Yeah.
So and he was out there testing it with you.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I was building it was because Kirsten wanted to learn how to jump. And my son was a kid, and he wanted to jump his bike. And then there was other kids that were like, hey, we want to, how do you do this? And so it became, and it's funny how everything kind of melts together. I'm building the jumps, I'm raising my son, I'm riding with my friends. And then, then the next thing I know, I'm a sponsored rider. And then it goes into like the design of the bicycle itself, and it starts to do all these different things that are, like all bicycle related. So at the end of the day, what it's done is it gave me the education, and it gave me the confidence to be like, at 47 years old, I was like, I want to become an architect. Yeah. And I basically like shut everything else down and went to school and became I'm almost an architect. I'm not quite an architect yet, but
you will be.
Yeah.
We're talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder of the biggest little bike park in Sun Valley, and bikes and jumps have impacted his entire life and his entire family, and influenced him to become an architect. Do you see, you built all those jumps out there, or you built a bunch. Are you incorporating bike jumps into building design now?
That's a funny question. Not for clients, not right now. Nobody's come to me and said, "Hey, I want to do this like grand, building." I'm not a Frank Gehry. I'm not one of those architects. What I was doing in school was I was incorporating transitions into a lot of stuff.
What does that mean?
So like almost like skate park, like and it goes even, it dives deeper into it, like BMX street riders. If you think of what they're doing, they're writing the architecture that's been built, right? So when I was designing these things in school, which they're never going to get built, it's all theory. I would put I'd put big quarter pipes on the side of walls, or and ledges and stairs and and hubbas, the ledges and all that stuff. Or where does the handrail go on the exterior of the building? Thinking like, oh, that would be awesome, and
for a skater
or for a BMX kid, or the scooter, the scooter generation that's going on right now, where all those kids they're warriors. They're out in the streets. They're taking the hits, and so
when you talk about transitions, you're talking about the space between outside the building and the building. So like the wall. The wall has a...
I'm talking about transition, like if you're looking at a ramp, the transition is that rounded part, that radius part.
Okay, all right.
And so, it's a lifelong quest. It's like, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and everybody's looking for that. They're looking for the bank, that wedge that they can ride their bike on. And if you throw one out anywhere, somebody's going to ride something on it.
Find it.
You bet, yeah. And then from there, the progression happens. Like you may just ride over it, but then a kid on a BMX bike might go up the bank and flare it, like do a flip 180. So it's interpretation. It's
play.
Yeah. Like I don't see where people are going out and are like on a mission to go out and find street spots, or I'm going to go to the dirt jumps and I'm going to do 100 push-ups, and then it doesn't happen. I'm going to go to the dirt jumps. I'm going to meet up with some friends. We're going to ride. We're going to laugh. We're going to talk politics or whatever we're going to talk that day. And at the end of the day, we might pop a beer and kind of hang out and talk, or go to dinner, or like, hey, see you tomorrow, So the social aspect of the Biggest Little Bike Park itself was a huge element in how I matured, how other people have matured. Like that place is, I know I can tell you, like, it's probably saved 10, 12 kids' lives.
Wow. Because
they were coming from bad environments. And they had a place to go, and it was a safe haven. And they knew I would have their back if something was going to happen. Like I was always kind of like, I might get flack for it, but I was always that person who's like, hey, like, don't mess with these kids. They're out here. They're doing something that's complicated. They're learning. And I know like 2 or 3 of the kids that are like successful. One became a lawyer, and so it's interesting. And it happens there. It happens out in the streets when the kids are riding street stuff, or they're skating. You see these groups of people. So socially, it becomes very a very tight knit group of people. And the stigma of it also is people see skate parks and they see skaters and they're like, we don't want to go there. They look rough. In all actuality, the skater will probably be the one that will show your child how to skateboard. They'll take the time out, or the BMX kids will stop and show that kid that maybe showed it for the first time how to go over this, or how to drop into the ramp, or whatever. And same thing with the dirt jumps, like we're going to show somebody, oh, you've never been here? Here, follow me, this is what you do, and keep your feet like this, and hold your handlebars like this and stuff. So, yeah, it becomes very social, very like teachable moments. And then at the end of the day, it is literally just fun.
Yeah. That's important. And it's something that we should do here on Bike Life Radio is go to a skate park, or, and talk to people at bike parks as well. I don't think we've really done that. You listen to Bike Life Radio, KWNK 97.7 FM. We're talking to Jim Siebert, who is the founder of the Biggest Little Bike Park in Sun Valley. And when you first went out and you built that, you said there's a nice place with some good dirt, and you built a jump, and then you had kind of one of the first flow trails possibly in the United States, with a series of jumps. And then what it's become today, did you ever think that it would be, what it is today, and that it would have this kind of social aspect to it that's really sanctioned?
I never saw it like that before. When I first started, it was like my friends and me are going to come out here and ride our bikes. And at some point in time, a motorcycle is going to find it and destroy it. And then when I started to vest some interest into, some time into it, it became something where I was like, hey, I want to do this because I know that these kids are coming out here, they're riding it. But I never saw the bike park element of it, right? I saw the dirt jump of it. I saw the trails part of it. And knowing that I was building on land that was BLM, that they could come out at any time, it's public land. And then when it kind of transferred from BLM to Washoe County Parks, they didn't want the Eagle Canyon Road going above Sun Valley there. And there was a developer that was going to buy that land and build houses up above there. And the people of Sun Valley said, no, not NIMBYs, not my backyard. But also it was kind of like we don't want the road, we don't want the noise, And Sun Valley already gets a bad rap, It's working class community, people live in mobile homes out there. But in all actuality, they're just people working and doing their thing,
Did a motorcycle ever come out and destroy it?
Countless times.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've had altercations with guys on motorcycles.
Oh.
And I get kind of a bad rap for it. But also talking with one gentleman who I had we had a shouting match, Yeah. And later on in life, he's like, hey, man, do you remember me? And I'm like, no, I don't remember you. He's like, yeah, you yelled at me, and we were yelling at each other. He goes, I have a lot of respect for you because you were standing up for what your hard work, because everything was shovel.
Yeah.
So up until just recently, everything was shovel.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got their grant for that and did all that work with the machinery, that was really the first time that machinery ever went up and actually made a big push to build something up there.
Yeah.
And so when you have sweat equity into something, you're going to defend it.
Yeah.
And it became a reputation for me, and people can like me or not because of it, but I always stood up for that, that place. And, even Sierra Vista or these other places, if people are up there and they're graffitiing or they're throwing trash around, I think it's a responsibility of everybody to say, hey, we're lucky to have this place, keep it in order so that we can continue. I have a grandson now. I want my grandson to go out and go to these places and do, and do this stuff that I got to do. Just have respect for what you're using, so the reason that I built out there, another reason was because the sun was at my back in the afternoon. I worked all day. I was working for Washoe County School District doing environmental programs. And I was like, I'll build all the trails going down the hill, obviously. Yeah. And then it's at my back, the wind's at my back, so I could ride throughout the seasons and not have to worry about the sun being in my eyes in the afternoon or anything like that. And so there was it was a learning experience. I was teaching myself how to use my elements of my environment to make something for my success, for other people's success, but also we could use it all the time. And so that's a big deal, yeah.
We rejoin our conversation with Jeff Siebert next week with a chat about how his biggest little bike park contributed to the rise of an Olympian and pride for Sun Valley. Join us at 5:30 on Sunday. This is KWNK 97.7 FM Bike Life Radio. I'm Kai Plaskon.